Hey everybody. Happy Monday, or whatever day you're watching this. So today, I'm the invincibility coach, just like yesterday, and just like tomorrow I'm going to be. And what I want to talk to you about today is a little something I like to call the Tony Stark. So, if you know anything about Tony Stark, then you will know that he doesn't like when people hand him things. If you don't know about Tony Stark, then little sidebar here, I don't do homework for people, so like hit pause, go over, there's probably even a YouTube video about that, maybe it might have like a little series of a montage about Tony Stark not liking when people hand him things. It's super funny. And here's how I relate that to invincibility. People are always trying to hand us things, okay? And it can come in the form of, I have sort of simplified it down to responsibilities. So people try to hand us responsibilities. People try to hand us attitudes. And sometimes the handing comes in the form of circumstances. So here's the deal. Like, you don't have to take them. You don't have to take what people hand you. Now, sometimes you will, because you'll want to, and it will genuinely feel like something that you want to participate in, or you feel like it is for your own best interest, or for the best interest of your life goals, right? You follow me, right? But when somebody just hands you something in the form of a responsibility or an attitude or the circumstances that you find yourself in, you do not have to take it, okay? So I did an Instagram post about this, and so if you want like another place where you can go get a similar message, you can go there, but I know that not everybody's on Instagram, so I'm telling you guys here, okay? So let's talk about the responsibility thing. Here's, an example of somebody trying to hand you a responsibility. If somebody that you know and or love, now it could be a coworker, it could be a boss, it could be a family member, it could just be your sweetheart, best friend, anybody, okay? If you feel as though something is being put to you, put upon you, given to you, like you follow me here, right? Could you please unload the dishwasher, right? Well, that's one of those things where you can immediately probably think to yourself, have we agreed that this is my responsibility? Is this something that I ordinarily do? Is it just a nice little way to like share responsibilities around the house? Then, you know what? Unload the dishwasher. Come on. It's like, why resist that? You know what I mean? Now, if you're always having to do it, then it's time for a little chitty chat. And you say, hey, I noticed that I'm always the one to do this. And really, I don't mind, but can we talk about, like, maybe what do you always do? There might not be room for discussion here because maybe you've already covered this ground and maybe you're just saying, okay. But if somebody is wanting to give you a responsibility that could be negotiable, right? There are non-negotiables, and we'll do another video about the whole negotiable, non-negotiable thing. But I think you can follow me through on this point, and that is that if somebody is trying to ask you to do something, can you do this for me? Hey, would you mind, being available for XYZ? Then and it is negotiable, I need you to decide whether or not it is good and healthy for you to do that thing. And you don't have to take it just because they ask you to do it, okay? So understand that that is actually within the realm of your choice, okay? Now, again, you may have discussion afterwards. That's fine. You can do that. But just because somebody hands you something doesn't mean that you have to take it, okay? But you can have a little style with it, and you can, you don't have to be rude. Tony Stark is a little quirky on his own. Like, some people might say that he's a little rude, but he's a genius. So we're going to give him a little bit of slack. The thing is that give yourself that minute or 30 seconds or however long it takes to just be like, do I need to just take this at face value? Or is this something that I can dig further into and say, okay, what part about that ask is healthy for me? That's gonna be, because if it's healthy for me, it's gonna be healthy for you, person asking me this thing, right? But I have to evaluate first how to absorb what will be healthy for me, so that in being healthy with my acceptance of whatever part of what you're asking me to do is then going to come back and be good for you as well. Might not be what that person is expecting. They might just want, yes, oh, no problem, I'll take care of that for you. Okay, but this is an opportunity for you to make some adjustments on you just being the sponge and absorbing what people are giving you, because they are used to being able to give you things, and you just absorb them, and you take care of them, right? So you're taking on all of the challenge and the adaptation and the growth, really, because it's like you're the one getting stronger for having to take on these things. Well, now you're going to spread the love, okay? And you're going to be like, yeah, I'll take that part, love to, okay? But then the other part, you don't have to take it, okay? So attitudes. Oftentimes we walk through life and we find ourselves in these little situations where we're dealing with someone that has an attitude that is not really conducive to productivity, or otherwise just kind of drags your head and could potentially put you in a bad mood, because they're already in a bad mood, right? They're trying to hand you an attitude, and you don't have to take it, okay? Now, for some people, when they are faced with an individual, no matter who they are, it doesn't matter who they are. If they're faced with an individual who is having a bad attitude, or just, let's just say a bad attitude, okay? We don't want to pick that apart. The tendency is to then have a bad attitude back to them, because there's some part of us that thinks, I want to show you what this looks like, and it's not fun. So you're giving this to me, so I'm going to give the same brand of attitude back to you, and how do you like it, right? This doesn't work very well. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but those kind of things don't ever work, because they escalate and escalate and escalate, and then you're nowhere except in a worse mood, and generally so are they. So in the spirit of productivity, I want you to understand that when you find yourself in a situation where there is a person, no matter who they are, that is trying to give you an attitude, you don't have to take it. It means that you, in some cases, don't even have to respond at all. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to change your demeanor or the expression on your face at all. You just don't have to say anything. Now, that, just like with the person handing you the responsibility, if you, what might seem like suddenly, are a different person because you're responding to this thing, this attitude now, that this person is trying to hand you, and in the past they've been able to hand this to you, and you have responded in such a way that it works for them. That's why they're giving you this attitude again, right? Understand that. The only reason that people behave the way that they do is because people around them let them do it. So if somebody's trying to hand you an attitude, and all of a sudden you don't respond, or you just excuse yourself, maybe, again, this is not you're not trying to be rude, because that just doesn't get us anywhere. It really doesn't, you guys. So just excuse yourself, and then just be like, I'll be ready to talk about that whenever you are. And if they continue coming with an attitude that makes you feel rotten in any way, shape, or form, you don't have to take it. What this is doing in the other person, understand, is that it is making something click in their brain. Number one, they are saying something's different here. What's going on here? This doesn't comport with the person that I've known. Okay. The second, very quickly, thing that happens inside their brain is fear, because you're different. What does that mean I have to do now? They're thinking. Now, it may not be fully formed sentences in their brain like this, but I'm telling you that this is what's happening in the brain, is that they're thinking, okay, they didn't take what I was trying to hand them, so now I got to keep it. I got to keep. What am I going to do with it? I'm not used to or familiar with having to handle this thing, because up to now I've been able to give it to that person and they took it. The next thing that happens in their brain is they have to problem solve. And this is the part that they are not accustomed to. Just like you up to now might not have been accustomed to not taking it, right? So there's a learning curve here. You know what a learning curve is? It just means, a little bit rocky. Sometimes depending on how willing you are to change and feel differently about your life. You got to be willing to be on that learning curve, right? The G's sometimes can be intense, because that turn can be intense. Just be willing to do it. You know how to feel good. That is what we are going after. You want to feel good, okay? So next, circumstances. Sometimes you can walk into a room, or you can be driving down the road, whenever we all start driving down the road again more often. Any kind of circumstance, you guys, any kind of setting, you can be faced with an array of choices or circumstances, right? Where you feel as though you're being handed something, in the way that you might be compelled to go help that person that just dropped 600 marbles on the ground, or that whether it's through a guilty conscience or through habit. I'm not going to construct these circumstances for you guys, because we all have them. Creative thinking here, critical thinking. I want you can figure out what these circumstances are, but I know you know what it feels like when you are compelled to respond in a certain way based on the circumstances that are in front of you. Here is where I want you to do the Tony Stark. Think for a second. First, the very first thing you should think is Tony Stark. I don't have to take it. Now, it doesn't mean wholesale. You don't have to reject the entire array of situations within this circumstance that we're thinking about, right? You can pick and choose, but this is part of the learning. This is part of you changing the way that you absorb or consume your life, so that you can feel better about it, okay? So just remember the Tony Stark. When you are faced with somebody handing you what you interpret to be a responsibility, or an attitude, or circumstances that are in front of you, allow yourself to do the Tony Stark first. And it might only be 2 seconds, it might be 30 seconds, but you don't have to take it. You don't have to take it. But think about it, and think about which aspects of this ask of responsibilities, or this attitude, or the circumstances in front of you, which parts you are willing to take on, because they will make you healthier in mind, body, spirit, soul, the whole shebang bang, right? And which are not. And be willing to have the conversations that say, that is not healthy for me. And also be willing to weather the storm that that person is going to go through, because you have now become a little bit different. Just be willing to just sit there and listen to them spout off, or be upset with you, or try to blame you for all of a sudden doing something that's healthier for you. Anyway, Tony Stark, you guys, it's pretty rad. We can learn from Iron Man. We really can. I love you guys to pieces. We're getting the planet in a better mood. Peace out.